Hi, I'm Suzanne. I am a videographer and photographer, and I am here because this month is International Women's Day on the 8th of March. In keeping with this year's theme of #ChooseToChallenge, I've been working with 9 brilliant women creating a photo series to represent different stereotypes that modern Australian women face. Alongside this photo series, we've recorded a conversation on each of these topics to help create a dialogue around them for International Women's Day. You're going to get one a day until the 9th of March, so stay tuned. Today's topic is #ChooseToChallengeAge, and I have this conversation with the infectious Sandra. I can't wait for you to get a load of her. If you want to see her beautiful photos, head to my Instagram at suzanne.was.here. So this episode we are talking about age, and to help me discuss this I have the wonderful
Sandra.
Yes, welcome Sandra. And tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm 74 years old. I live at a retirement village. Very happy, very, very happy there. I am mother, grandmother and a great-grandmother.
And you're one of the most immediately infectious people I've ever met.
Oh, thank you so much.
From my experience, obviously I'm not old, but from what I'm seeing, I think something that is really quite demeaning that people use in association with older women is that they're cute. And I know we talked about this before, and I think, yes, you could be cute and that could be a good thing, but it's quite a strange thing to use an adjective that you would for a baby to a person who has lived a whole life and is just full of wisdom and a whole life of experiences. And I think that that's a really big thing that I would like to see change around the way we talk and treat older women. Yeah. Is this, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that, well, I really don't have a lot of experience with, apart from my own family and their friends, and they treat me with great respect. I would think that, yeah, you need young people, and going forward, they need to see senior people as people.
Yeah.
And not ready to just fall off the perch, you know, because you kind of get to an age where my family don't do that. They've got, oh no, you're going to live to be 100, you know, because, but there's a lot of people that when you get to a certain age, it's like, well, you haven't got long.
We're just waiting for you to die now.
Yeah.
Which is awful.
It is.
For a lot of people, they work so that they can afford to live a brilliant retirement, and that is the goal. It's not that they're like, oh, how sad, you know, particularly in a retirement village, oh, how sad. It's like those places are thriving. And some of the people that you
build them quick enough.
Yeah.
They can't build them quick enough.
But not as sad little holes where people go to die.
No.
So maybe tell me a bit about your experience.
Yeah, well, you know, that I've had people say to me, oh, you live in a nursing home? No, it's not a nursing home. It's a retirement village where we do fun things. I just think the white Australia doesn't put any value into aged people because, you know, they're so quick to suggest that you go into a retirement village. Yeah. You know, like your family.
Once we're done with you, go off.
Just go, but then they're waiting on the inheritance. Don't spend the inheritance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good one, you know, like, and that's been, like, they might say it as a joke, don't spend the inheritance, but my goodness,
but that's part of the
it.
issue. The joke creates the culture.
It does.
Yeah.
And I know, I have a friend, and he won't, he's just a friend, but he is so worried. This is the truth, and I think it's very widespread. My sister is exactly the same. They won't buy a cup of coffee because
they're worried about this?
No, they're worried about giving and having money for their and honestly, it's just so wrong because we, as older people who have worked, paid our tax, brought those children up, sacrificed,
given so much
already to them, that I would think, and my friend and my sister would think that you can't spend your money because you wouldn't have anything at the end to give them. No. And yet they've got good jobs. They've got, everything. and yet we have to go without so they've got something.
I understand people wanting to leave behind a gift or a legacy or something, but I kind of hope my parents spend every last one of their dollars before they die and they enjoy their life.
And this is
like, what an awful thing to look forward to the death of your parents for money. Awful.
Oh my goodness. And I was never brought up like that. I never heard inheritance.
And your family
ever
definitely
mentioned.
aren't like that either.
No.
Yeah.
My children want me to live to be 100. Yeah. My son only said to me last year, "You're going to buy another car, Mum." I said, "What's wrong with this car that I've got?"
They're like, spend up.
Yeah. And I don't work anymore. So I have to think the only thing that I'm getting, I have to look after that. And I think that also is a big responsibility. As I said, I can't be racking up bills and then thinking that my children have to bail me out.
No.
Yeah, they would, but that's not responsible.
No, but even I think another stereotype that people use is particularly for older women is that they don't know how to handle finances.
Right. No.
But I mean, you're thriving and you're like, your neighbours are telling you off, as you told me, for shopping too much. Yeah. But I think, but you're fine. And I think this assumption, and I realise it hangs on from when you were younger and, you know, women not being able to get credit cards until the 80s without their husband's permission. This ridiculousness. But I think we need to recognise that because those rules were around then doesn't mean that women from that time don't know how to handle money.
No, and we can change it because I think that, my mother, she never did anything. She didn't have money. She didn't work. She didn't drive. My father just ran everything, and that's how I was brought up. But and then when I first got married, it was the same. I didn't drive.
But now you run everything.
Now I run everything. But I think that when you're suppressed as a woman, you don't ever arrive at your full potential.
You don't get a chance.
No.
Yeah.
And I said that to somebody the other day that, okay, I lost my husband when I was 66 years old, and I didn't think to myself, oh my goodness, I have to go out and find a husband because I need somebody to look after me.
Oh, yeah.
I'd been looked after for nearly 50 years.
But you also looked after him.
And I looked after him. But, you know, I didn't have that in my mind to go out and...
Oh, I'm only half a person now. I need someone else. Yeah. No,
I decided that I wanted to know who Sandra was, actually. Yeah. Because I don't think I knew who Sandra was. Yeah. Because I was just Peter's wife.
Yeah. And then this is something that I kind of wanted to go into that we talked about a little bit before, is all these stories, like the where you live is just this fountain of wisdom and knowledge and life experiences and all of these things that, but it's so ridiculous to me that people drive past and probably go, oh, look at that sad place. But then, I mean, share with me some of the stories, like the chef that you were telling me about.
Yeah, well, she's still alive. She's 97. Her name's Eva. But she was a cordon bleu chef in England. She only worked for corporate companies. So if they had a dinner or a luncheon, then she would come in and cook all the finest French food, you know, cordon bleu chef. So she won't go into people have been telling her for years, you should be in care. Yeah. She doesn't. She wants to, she still makes a meal every night of the week. She won't do frozen food. She still prepares because that's her day. Well, she's on a walker. So she walks to the kitchen. Les brings in all the fresh vegetables every 2 days and a meat. So she spends her day preparing for her evening meal. She's 97. She's got it all up here, but it's not working from the waist down.
Yeah. I think that's part of the thing, right? With age, we know that there are different health issues that come up, but that doesn't mean everything is impossible now. No. Like, just because she needs a walker doesn't mean she's not still a fantastic chef. No. And doesn't mean that all of her life experiences now are moot.
I'm 3/4 of a century when you think of it.
What a massive
You know,
achievement.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that in itself,
Yeah.
the fact that I've got to be 75, in
Yeah.
a few months, be 75 years old.
Yeah.
To think that my body, I've thought about it so often, how many beats
Yeah.
of my heart
Yes.
have happened
Yes.
in 75
All
years.
the things that it has carried
Yes,
you through.
yes.
Yeah.
My legs, that they still work. My fingers, I have got osteoporosis. I'm on medication. I get infused for that. But today we've got all the things to keep us going. That's it. I do have an infusion once a year for my osteo to strengthen my bones.
Yeah.
And
One thing slightly less functional doesn't write off the whole human.
no, but I just don't think, oh my goodness, I've got osteoporosis.
I'll give up.
I'll give up. But I have to be very careful that I don't fall because
Yes.
I'm brittle. That's it. I broke my arm 3 years ago, and that was because that's when they found out that I
Right.
had
But
osteoporosis.
also, some young people have conditions just like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not osteoporosis. It's a vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah.
Even young people at school, I think they should have some sort of a education of even talking about death, because
Yes,
oh my
yeah.
goodness, there'll be some families that you don't talk about cancer around them. You don't talk about death, because but it's part
It builds up the fear.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yes, but you've got to be able to talk about
We need to
death.
normalize death.
Normalize
Yeah.
death. No, you're not going to die at 4, but some children do. But I think dying is part of living.
Yes. Well, and without death, life has no meaning.
No.
If there wasn't a time constraint, then it's not as precious. It's a scary, and when you're going through, it's just an awful thing, as you definitely know. But if we didn't have the deadline, if we didn't know that it was coming at some point, we wouldn't appreciate what we have. And I think that's something that, again, with aged people, that because death is more normalized, time is taken more valuably.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I've learned, is that every day is a gift. Every morning when I wake up, I thought, oh, great, I'm alive, you know what I mean? Because a number of my people that I live around have actually passed away in their sleep. So it happens, but I just think make the most of every day. Fill your day. Make your day happy.
Yeah.
Because
Choose joy. That's what you said to me
choose
earlier.
joy, because tomorrow may never come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's with all of us.
Yeah.
Young, old, indifferent.
Yeah. And where people should have more appreciation for age is that aging is a privilege. And this is something
Such a privilege.
something that people have heard me say many times, and they always go, ugh, at me when I say it. But wrinkles are a privilege. And I think I understand, and it's completely anybody's choice if they want to do their own thing to work on that. But I will always make that point when people are having that conversation, just because I think people forget. And I think we need to learn to not be afraid of aging and age and death. And I think you can live such an incredible Exhibit A life when you are in what Australia categorizes as a senior.
Yes.
And you can catch public transport for way cheaper, and look at all the perks you get. You could go to the movies for so cheap.
Yeah, $10. Yeah, it cost my son, I think, $30 and it cost me 10.
Yeah. I do want to ask you as well, though, because this is something that we sort of touched on again before, but as a great example of these unconscious biases that we get, because I know that I'm very lucky in that my sister works in psychogeriatrics, so for the last decade she's been pulling me up immediately on any of these unconscious biases that I have, so I'm working really hard to stop them around age. But from your perspective, you went into a retirement village quite young.
Yeah.
And I would be really interested to hear your perspective when you first went in to how you feel about older people now.
Yeah, well, when I first went in, I was 66 years old. I've just lost my husband, and I'm living in a 1-bedroom, beautiful, but still a 1-bedroom. And I'm thinking, what do I do now?
Mm.
I'm absolutely surrounded by people average age 90,
Yeah.
probably 85 to 95, even, and I just said, I'm just going to die
Yeah.
because there's nothing.
That's all that I'm here for.
Yeah, God's waiting room.
Yeah.
Somebody said, don't worry about it, it's God's waiting room.
Yeah.
And you know what? I spoke to somebody and they said to me, Sandra, what you've got to do is just get involved, join a committee, do things that are here. Don't feel old because you've lost your husband. You're a widow. That's already a terrible,
Stereotype.
label.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Be a widow.
Yeah, widow, you must be a miserable person with no life.
Don't wear colours.
Oh.
Now I think it's the best thing I ever did. It's given me a community, which I wouldn't have had in a home, a big home with, gardens to be done, lawns to be mowed. It's all done for me where I live.
Yeah. Did you originally see those people who were so much older than you as other? Like,
definitely.
I'm not like them.
Oh, definitely.
Whereas now, like you were just talking about, you have friends who are 104 and they're
part of my life.
With.
They're so part of my life. And the thing is that I'm in awe of them, that they've got that far.
Yeah.
Because I've still got to get there.
Yeah. That's a long way.
They're 13 years older than me, 20 years older than me, and they're still alive. And I go...
And living incredible lives.
Living independently.
Yeah.
And they're so enthusiastic. They're running it. They're running
the show.
They're running the show. These older people.
And so are you. You're running the show.
I think, we have to look at living our life every day to the fullest.
Yeah.
And at the end of our life, when we do know it's coming to the end, we say, well, we've done a good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've done a good job.
And be happy with what you've achieved.
Yes.
Yeah. And tying back into some of the other series, so I think it kind of ties us into motherhood and sexuality because, again, as when people become mothers, they're assumed to no longer be sexual beings. They're just, you've done the sex thing now. You could not be sexual. You're a mother. And we hit that same kind of categorization with age too. I don't know what the number is, but at some point, once you're older, you can't be a sexual being anymore. That's not a part of your life. How do you feel like this is represented either in your life or in media, in movies and things? How do you feel?
Yeah, well, I used to watch that, which was really interesting, Grace and Frankie.
I love Grace and Frankie.
So, I was a widow at 66. So
yes.
And up until 2 years before that, I was, because Peter had brain cancer and very ill. But, till 64, we were still sexually active.
Yes.
But I can't say because I was a widow at 66 and, that's not, but I was always loved Grace and Frankie because, both of those people were still interested. Hot.
Still hot women.
And I actually think if I still had my husband, I would be hot.
Yeah. Oh, you are still hot. Even though whether he's here or not, you're still hot. No.
But it's strange.
Yeah.
Widowhood is strange.
Yeah.
And I don't know how... I guess you just think that part of your life is over.
Yeah.
Unless you're promiscuous, of course, which I'm not, and other people, they do it the way they want. And I'm sure there's a lot of older people that date through the dating sites and all that sort of thing. But,
and good on them.
Yeah, good on them, but that's just not something that I want to do, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that's also the thing is just because your husband isn't here doesn't mean you immediately have to hop back in the dating pool.
No.
Either. Just going back to Grace and Frankie, I think and I hope that it has made a big difference in what people think of older women because, they are intelligent, hot, brilliant characters.
Yes.
And I think it's come from a need of these real women as well who weren't able to get jobs in Hollywood anymore being older women, so they found people who were wanting to create this show, and it is one of the best shows. Yeah. My all-time favorites, honestly.
Love it.
And I think, I guess it also ties in as well this around the idea of women not being attractive over a certain age. Which is just ridiculous, particularly because it almost seems to be the opposite Yeah.
Because you know what, men, and there are men around me where I live, they seem to get better with age.
Yeah, they're
Isn't
more
it funny?
sophisticated.
Yes.
But this is entirely a societal perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's that in women, youth is valued so much more than it is for men. And this is around because of the male gaze, right? And men are told that younger women are more valuable to them, which is...
Yeah, so they discard the old one and in with the new.
Yeah, it's such an odd thing to be normal when as you were saying that, then it's very odd that this is something that we all just go, oh yes, that's a thing that happens and that's normal.
Well, I see it all the time where I live, older men with younger women.
And I mean, great, but why don't we see it the other way?
Yeah, well, you don't see an older woman with a young man.
No, and that's the
otherwise
reason
you'd think it was their son.
Yes,
yeah,
and that's why it's an issue, is because it's normal to see it one way and not the other. And why is that? Because age for women is a sin.
Yeah.
It's so much worse than aging for men.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And if you have a toy boy, my goodness.
Oh, the judgment.
Oh, the judgment.
The
Where if
cougar.
a man, the cougar, but if a man has a young one, good on him.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're cradle robbing. That's a bit gross if you're a woman with a young man. But you were good enough to get a young woman. Good job. Yeah, that's such a double standard.
It is, but it's there.
Yeah.
And young men grow up with these ideas.
Yes, that a woman is meant to be young and fulfill this position in my life. And then when they get to a stage where the woman doesn't hit that exact narrative, this is where they get lost, and it becomes I need to get another one who fits that again.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, they just don't grow out of it.
Yeah.
They grow better with it, but the woman gets worse with it.
Yes.
Dealing with age.
Yeah.
A younger woman makes the man feel younger.
Yes, yeah.
Because he can't cope
Yeah.
with being old with the old woman.
Yeah.
That's what my husband said one time. He said to me, when we became grandparents, I was 48 and he was 4 years older.
Yeah.
51. So he was 52. And he said to me, I'm in bed with a grandmother.
Who knew this day would come?
It was like, okay, so you're a grandmother. I said, well, I'm in bed with a grandfather.
Yeah.
But no,
It's
he
the
had
same
to say
thing.
to me.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone to bed with a grandmother.
Yeah.
And but it's so funny. As an older person, I'm 74, could be 75 in August, but I don't feel any different to probably how I felt at 24.
Yeah, it's just that
It's
there's this
so-
weird societal categorization.
It's just the body.
Yeah.
But in my mind, and I would love to be out for dinner, come home, have a glass of wine and go to bed and have sex. That would be just awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I could, but
you're done, willing to try.
But just because I'm 74, who would do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't feel how are you supposed to feel at 74?
Yeah.
I don't feel old.
Yeah, what society tells you is old.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing.
Because they're like, gross, you have sex at 74?
Oh, ew.
Ew. Like,
no, I hope I'm having sex at 74. What? I hope my parents are having sex at 74. Like, I think if you are someone who enjoys sex, because, I mean, obviously not everybody does.
No.
And if you're someone who has someone that you want to have sex with, or if you want to have solo sex, I hope you're doing that, Grace and Frankie style. I think it's, we definitely, I mean, you say, I don't feel old, but the categorization of old, by definition, is a relative term.
Yeah.
So I am old to teenagers, and you are old to people who are younger than you. So, but the idea of saying I don't feel old is we still feel this need to push that word away from ourselves. But there's nothing wrong with being old.
No. But of course, it's something that we've always feared.
Yes.
Don't get old.
So then what do we do to challenge this? And I think you, living your life the way you are presently, you are challenging this. But as people who aren't in the categorization of what society calls old, how would you like to see them challenge these stereotypes?
I think that there should be more programs for getting older,
Yeah.
growing older.
Well, and I guess as you were saying before, the education
I think it just needs to start
Yeah.
with education.
and representation.
Like
Grace and Frankie.
Yeah, I think people need to be a role model to how it is to be aged, and that takes away the fear.
Yeah.
And then you know, like my children, I would say my children aren't afraid to get old because they can see that I'm not old, whatever that means.
Yeah, you're not old by the standard,
but
the negative standard of
there
old.
can be new rules and new things come in, but the old is still good.
Yes.
You know, the old is still good.
Yes.
And you know what? I watch a lot of cooking shows on Netflix or not, you know, on Fox.
Yeah.
A lot of cooking shows. And so many of these head chefs have got the recipes from their grandmother who have done it in the kitchen with them.
Most of the best recipes come from old women.
That's right. So why would you throw out the old for the new?
Yeah. And I think, like, on that, I think this is where it ties in with one of the other topics. We don't want to lose that. And I think a lot of people move forward and forget about the past. I think we can improve in places. We definitely can. But that, like you said, that doesn't mean we discard. I think
the good things.
Yes, there's so many. I mean, obviously there are some things that we probably should discard. Yeah. But as we're learning, we don't want to throw away the fantastic things. Yeah.
No.
Including the people.
Yeah. I know through experience what works to get a child to go to sleep or whatever.
The knowledge that mothers can pass on to mothers is phenomenal.
It is.
And yes, we'll learn new things along the way.
Yeah.
And we can, again, like we were just saying, improve on it. But doesn't mean that you can't get a completely incredible, fantastic rule book, guidebook from your mothers or your mother's mothers or your mother's mother's mothers.
Absolutely.
And fathers too.
But I do think European people do it better than we do. I think
and Aboriginal people.
I think Aboriginal people have got that tradition and they want to keep that going. You know, they don't want to throw out the old person and say, "Oh, you don't know nothing." They value that elder in the tribe.
So much more value.
So that elder they probably go to that elder before they go anywhere else.
Yeah, and how much stronger is their community and their tradition for that family.
And you never want that to go. You never want that to go.
So then,
really,
as far as people outside of what is categorized as the aged community, the aged women, what we could do, we could talk to older women, hear from our mothers and our grandmothers the incredible lives that they've lived and all of the wisdom that they have, and don't just assume, oh, she's just old. That's a bad thing. I think societally, from what we've discussed, we need to make sure that we're putting back value into age. Yeah,
because it's gone so quickly. You know, and if you don't harvest that, it's gone.
Thank you so much for talking with me. I have loved this, and we could go on for several more hours.
I could be here for 10 o'clock at night.
I know, let's order some, what was it that you said, some Uber Eats?
Uber Eats, yes. Never done it.
You haven't? Oh, that's probably good. But thank you so much for speaking with me, and I really appreciate your time, and I want to keep learning from people just like you, and I think we'll catch up again.
We will.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.